Trump is smashing Harris in Polymarket's new 2024 election forecast. With 26 days left to go, Trump has a 55.4% chance of winning. He's flipped a number of key states in just the past 2 days, and in this video, we'll be taking a look at the 2024 electoral map based on Polymarket's new projections. We'll begin on the West Coast, where Washington, Oregon, and California are all solid blue. Kamala Harris has at least a 95% chance at winning these 3 states. However, Nevada is going to be significantly more competitive. Despite Joe Biden having won the state by over 2 points in 2020, today we have basically a tie according to the markets. Harris has a 52% chance at winning, Trump at 49%. In fact, this is the only state on the map where Kamala Harris is currently favored, and she has just a 3-point advantage. So based on the betting markets, the silver state is going to be tilt blue, but in the end, it really could go either way. Next up, in Arizona, Trump has a 2-in-3 chance of winning. The state isn't even close anymore. Despite it having gone to Joe Biden in the last election, he won it by 0.3, and Kamala Harris's performance in Arizona has been abysmal. There's never been a point in time where she was the favorite in the state, even when she peaked during the Democratic convention. And so what we're seeing right now is that Democrats went through all the trouble to replace the nominee at the top of their ticket, and they're doing just as badly as they were before Joe Biden dropped out. Donald Trump has recreated the lead he was in before Harris became the nominee, and he is on track to easily win Arizona this time around. According to the polls, he leads by 0.9%, and as we all know, Trump is never ahead in the polls, and so Arizona is going to be lean red on our map. Moving on to Colorado and New Mexico, Colorado is going to be solid blue, with Kamala Harris at a 97% chance to win. In New Mexico, her odds are at 91. In fact, the race got really close. There was talk about Republicans potentially flipping the state before Joe Biden dropped out, but now that Kamala Harris has replaced him as the nominee, Democrats are in a better position. So Colorado, safe blue. New Mexico is likely. And then in neighboring Texas, the former president has a 90% chance at winning. The odds here have been pretty stagnant throughout the entirety of the election cycle. There's no doubt that Donald Trump is going to win Texas for a 3rd time in a row. It is going to be likely Republican on this map. And now to fill in all these states in the middle of the country, Trump is easily going to win Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, North and South Dakota, all of Nebraska except its 2nd district, as well as Kansas and Oklahoma. The 2nd district of Nebraska is going to be likely blue. Kamala Harris has an 89% chance at winning. And then in Alaska, Donald Trump has a 92% chance at winning, so the state is going to be likely red, while Hawaii is going to be safe blue. Moving up now to the Midwest, where Kamala Harris has to win a majority of the Rust Belt states if she wants to have any chance at getting to 270 electoral votes. She'll need Minnesota, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania to win the presidency. And just a few weeks ago, the betting markets had her winning all 3 of these races, but today, that couldn't be further from the truth. Starting off in Minnesota, Kamala Harris has just a 91% chance at winning. That may seem high, but this is not where she needs to be. In fact, Minnesota is a state that hasn't gone red since 1972. It's a state that Joe Biden won by a likely margin in 2020, but today, Kamala Harris leads in the polling by just 4%, even though her running mate is literally Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. And so considering all the advantages she has here, a 91% chance is not high at all. So the state is going to be likely blue on our map, but Kamala Harris should be worried about her performance in the state. In neighboring Wisconsin, Trump has officially flipped the state. Looking at the odds, it's essentially 50-50, but you do see Trump's number appearing on top. This is the first time Trump has been ahead in Wisconsin since early August. If you look at the one-day graph, he's essentially been ahead throughout the entirety of the day, but of course the market moves ever so slightly every few hours. But as of right now, Trump is in the lead in Wisconsin. Looking at the polls, Harris still maintains a 0.4% lead. lead, but we have 8 new polls from the state. 3 of them show Trump ahead, 3 of them have Harris ahead, and the 2 most recent polls are projecting a tie. The polling average in Wisconsin is likely to flip back over to Trump soon, just like Michigan flipped to Trump yesterday and Pennsylvania about a week ago. And so on our map, Wisconsin is going to be tilt red according to Polymarket for the first time in over 2 months. Before I continue, nearly 80% of you guys are not subscribed, so please take the time to subscribe right now for more content like this leading up to the election in November, and join my Discord server to chat with me personally. Link in the description below. Next up, in Michigan, things couldn't be worse for Kamala Harris. Keep in mind, this is the most liberal of all the swing states. Joe Biden won it by 2.8% in 2020. He didn't win any of the other 6 battlegrounds by a larger margin. And looking at the polling average, Trump has taken the lead. He's ahead by nearly 1%. Virtually every single new poll has the former president ahead. If Kamala Harris can't win Michigan, she is going to go down in a modern-day landslide. And according to the betting markets, Trump has taken the lead back. He is now the favorite with a 52% chance to win against Kamala Harris's 49%. And this really is monumental. It's the first time that Republicans have led in the Wolverine state in the betting markets since the end of July, nearly 3 months ago. And if you look at the odds just 3 weeks ago, Kamala Harris had a 68% chance of winning. She had nearly a 7 in 10 chance of winning Michigan in less than a month. And today, she isn't even the favorite anymore. So Michigan is also going to be tilt red on the map, a monumental flip for Donald Trump. And then in Pennsylvania, the last of the 3 blue wall states, it's not even going to be tilt in favor of Trump. It's actually a lean state where the former president has a 56% chance to win. It's not even close. And the colors on the graph are reversed, but that'll be fixed relatively soon. Donald Trump is the clear favorite in the Keystone State, which is probably the most important state on the map. It's very likely that whoever wins Pennsylvania is going to win the election entirely. And looking at the polls, Trump has also taken the lead in the average. He's ahead by 0.3% and leads in a majority of all the recent surveys. For context, at this point in 2016, Hillary Clinton led in Pennsylvania by 9.4%. In the end, she lost the state entirely. In 2020, Joe Biden led by 7.1%. In the end, he carried Pennsylvania by just 1.2%. So there's no doubt that Trump is in an unbelievably favorable position in must-win Pennsylvania, which is going to be lean Republican on the map. Coming down now to the lower Midwest, Iowa is going to be likely Republican. Trump has a 93% chance of winning, just under the 95% threshold to be solid. It's going to be likely red on the map. Ohio is also going to be likely for the GOP. Trump has a 92% chance at winning, so once again, right under the 95-point threshold. And then Indiana and Illinois, they're obviously going to be solid for their respective parties. Illinois solid blue, Indiana solid red. Moving up now to the Northeast, virtually every single one of these states is going to be safe for Kamala Harris. New York, Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and the District of Columbia, all solid blue, while New Hampshire is going to be likely blue. Kamala Harris has an 87% chance of winning, and then in Maine, her odds sit at 88. So both New Hampshire and Maine will be likely for the Democrats. The 1st District of Maine is going to be solid blue, and the 2nd District likely red. We're now going to come down to the South, where Trump is going to dominate. He's easily going to win Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, and South Carolina. Only Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida are even going to be remotely competitive. We're going to begin up in Virginia, where the vice president has an 89% chance of winning. The state actually got very close at a moment in July when Joe Biden lost the lead in the polls against Donald Trump. And so Virginia has been very competitive in the past, although in 2020, Joe Biden did perform well. He won the state by a double-digit margin. Kamala Harris, at most, is going to win Virginia by half that margin, but in terms of her odds of winning the state entirely, in terms of just winning the state, it could be by a 0.1% margin. The margin doesn't matter. Yes, her odds do remain relatively high, so the state is going to be likely blue in favor of the vice president. Next up in North Carolina, the Tar Heel state is also on track to go in favor of Trump. Trump, the former president has a 62% chance of winning. North Carolina has always favored the Republicans. Democrats have never been in the advantage here. And the reason why Trump's numbers have gone down slightly over the last month is because of Mark Robinson and his scandal. Robinson is, of course, the gubernatorial candidate, and he is definitely not going to help out the former president here. But in the end, Trump is still very likely to win. He won North Carolina in both 2016 and 2020. It's the only swing state he's won in both of the last two elections, and today he leads by 0.6% in the polls. In fact, he leads in all 7 of the 7 most recent surveys that have come out. And so North Carolina is going to be lean Republican. There's no doubt the state is going to remain true to Trump this November. And then in Georgia, we have another state where Trump has always been ahead. Today, he has a 64% chance of winning. His odds have been slowly rising since Harris peaked back in August. This is basically during the Democratic convention. Trump's numbers have been slowly creeping up. Today, he has a 64% chance to win. Looking at the polls, he is also the heavy favorite. Kamala Harris hasn't led in any of the last 7 surveys conducted in the Peach State. Trump has a 0.8% lead. I mean, looking at the graph, Harris had the advantage for a very short period of time before Trump took it back. And there's no doubt that Trump is going to flip Georgia red this cycle. He actually lost the state in 2020 to Joe Biden. It was the closest state on the entire map, but it's not going to be that close anymore. Trump can easily win Georgia by 2 to 4 points in less than a month. So Georgia, just like North Carolina, is also going to be lean Republican. And finally, in Florida, as we all know, the state is no longer competitive. Donald Trump has a 90% chance of winning. But just imagine if in the days before the 2020 race, somebody told you that this is what we would be seeing 4 years later. Because in 2020, the polls had Biden winning. The betting markets all had Biden as the overwhelming favorite. But over just the last 4 years, Republicans have transformed Florida. It is now a Republican stronghold. And once again, the colors on this graph are inverted. But the GOP does have a 90% chance at retaining Florida, a state that Trump won in both of the last 2 elections by 1.2% against Clinton in 2016 and by 3.4% against Joe Biden in 2020. And this year, it's on track to be a likely Republican state. And so this is the 2024 electoral map based on Polymarket's updated forecast. Donald Trump at 306 electoral votes, Kamala Harris at just 232. And I mean, over the last few months, yes, there's been periods where Harris has performed quite well, but from the beginning, we all knew that her momentum was going to run out relatively quickly, and that's what I've been saying this whole time. And today, Wisconsin and Michigan have both flipped in favor of Trump. There's no doubt he is the clear favorite. Democrats are panicking. Many of them actually regret replacing Biden with Harris. And so that will be it for this video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe right now for more content like this leading up to the election in November, and follow me on Twitter for daily political updates. Link in the description below.